Tune in every Thursday at 11 a.m. on WSAN Radio for the Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, where real conversations lead to real change. Joseph Lee is a licensed therapist with over 15 years of experience, and each week he brings practical guidance, clear insight, and solutions you can use to navigate stress, anxiety, relationships, family pressures, and the challenges we're facing in today's world. Today's discussion pulls from Psychology Today magazine and other trusted resources because your mental health matters and your community matters. Have a topic you want us to cover? Reach out to WSAN Radio and let's talk. Let's break the silence, strengthen our families, and make a positive impact together. The Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, Thursdays at 11 a.m., only on WSAN Radio, the soul of America and beyond.
And here we are this morning. Good morning, everybody. And it was a crazy morning this morning. I'm getting up in the morning, people coming over, taking down my hornet's nest. And it was a little nippy outside this morning. That wind was blowing, but it's supposed to warm up. But nothing can be no more hotter than the topic we have every Thursday here about mental health and a little bit of everything, because we know that's a hot topic. Because it's a lot of things going on. Joseph, before you get started, my question of the day, I'm going to ask this first, so I don't ask it at the end of the show, is I am seeing a lot of people misusing mental health by when they get caught in doing something, especially being racial motivated. And when they said, this is not me, I don't act like this. And they try to use that mental health as an excuse. And I'm seeing more and more of that going on every day, is when they get caught doing something wrong, all of a sudden they go to the grab bag and say, I have mental health issues. So is that going to hurt or harm the mental health industry?
I think anything that happens, the discussion always helps mental health, because it's like you're having a discussion with me right now, being a licensed therapist. I can tell you that there are valid ways that can be examined, and then there's ways that can be kicked out. There are issues, there's things that you can have, like uremic encephalopathy. I know that's a big word, but you have diabetic encephalopathy, which some people are aware of, meaning that if you go into a diabetic episode, your behavior can change. Things can happen, but if you don't have a diagnosed issue beforehand, people that have been diagnosed with PTSD, that can have an effect on your behavior, right? But if you don't have any of those things diagnosed, or you're not diagnosable, then you try to say that this affected my behavior. Well, you lose a lot of credibility there. So a lot of people think that you can use, psychology as a means to be an excuse, but you can use it, but you better have somebody licensed that has diagnosed you, and there's evidence of that before the situation happened. Now, maybe you had an issue, and that speaks to maybe you should be in therapy ahead of time if you're dealing with the issue, because let's just say you had an issue and it's not diagnosed, then you're not being responsible for your issue unless you didn't know you had that issue at all. So if all of a sudden you pop off and just say something, but there's no signs of it at home, there's no signs of it outside of that situation, it just might have been a bad decision. So a bad decision does not mean you have a diagnosis. I've got some nice books back here, the DSM-5 and 4. 5 is most current. And if it doesn't fall in there, you don't have an issue that you can use as mental health. You just might have made a bad decision.
Yeah. I wish they'd just say that. It was a bad decision on my part.
Well, I mean, sometimes it is a bad decision, but and sometimes there are some issues that are diagnosable that could mean mental health. But when you say, a child, let's just take an active shooting situation, right? A child can have been bullied, depression, have mental health issues, but if a father or a mother knows that their child is struggling and allows you to have access to a gun, is that a mental health issue, or is that a parental issue? Is that a bad decision issue? And some people will say it's a mental health issue. No, I'd say that one is more of a bad decision to have that firearm accessible to that child,
Right.
right? So you can't put you can say mental health is an issue, but sometimes I'm just gonna keep it all the way 100 and real because that's what impact we do. Sometimes it's bad parenting. Okay, that's the issue. Now,
Yep.
yes, that falls under psychology because we do parenting classes and parent nurturing and all that. But what's that old thing that we used to say? Common sense is also something you're supposed to have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know that your child has issues at school, or aggression, or depression, or being bullied, or being kind of an outsider, or whatever the case may be, we have seen this trait play out too many times for you not to recognize it, even if it's your own child. If your child is isolated, and the reason I'm saying this mental health, the active shooter situation, is that's one of the ones I hear so much that the first thing they do is figure out what's going on mentally with the person that either was an active shooter, or then you want to look at the parents and how this happens. Well, yeah, I understand looking at mental health in that case because obviously there has to be something mental off with someone that takes children's lives or goes into a school active shooter. Obviously, that's an easy answer, but we've got to stop being so superficial and looking for what is the obvious answer to what is the proactive solution. That's what we've got to shift to. The proactive solution is we've got to make sure that we've got parents that are responsible, that are present in their child's lives, and in people's lives before they get to the point where they explode, right?
Yeah.
So then all we can do is teach about grief and how to get past that process. And to be honest with you, it's really kind of sad that we keep making the same mistake over and over again and then expecting a different outcome. I think that's akin to insanity. So I think as a society, we need to look at our mental health. Why are we doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different outcomes? You can't just use mental health as a scapegoat because that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
That's not it. We have diagnostic tools to know if you have an issue. But if you haven't got that done ahead of time, then to me, that's still an excuse. What do I say at the end of the show? Your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. So if you're telling me you got a mental health issue and that's why you slapped your employer, maybe, but maybe what should you have been doing ahead of time? If you know you got anger issues, if you know you got your family's telling you why you snapping off at us, and meaning why you go get mad and cussing us out and all this other type of stuff, why weren't you addressing that? Because if you're irresponsible, even with a mental health issue, that's still a decision. That's
Yeah.
still a choice, and it's a bad one. It's a bad choice.
So this is gonna be a blanket question.
Mm.
um, Everybody struggles and walk around with some type of mental health. It isn't like you mental health free,
Right.
and it's just when it comes out. But we all have our own type of struggles with our own mental health. But is it that people, I won't say live with it, but they know how to take care of it? They don't let it get out of hand. I'm trying to dig somewhere. Let me know if I'm digging in the right spot.
Well, you in the garden. You just off the lane just a little bit.
Okay.
That's it. So let's look at it a little bit. Culturally, we're taught certain things, right? We're taught to go to church, and that's a good thing. But the pastor is not a therapist, and most pastors tell you, hey, I'm not a therapist, and we'll refer you to a therapist. I work with multiple churches, and they understand that lane. They understand there's spiritual counseling, and then there's therapeutic, clinical counseling, and there's a difference, right? So a lot of times we've been taught to just go to church about it, and men were taught not to even talk about it a lot of times, and then we are just taught to kind of just cope.
Yeah.
We've learned to cope, and for a lot of folks, we haven't had the resources to go to a therapist, to go, because as much as I love talking to folks, I don't talk for free, right? I don't, I'm a therapist. I'm not your best friend, so there's therapeutic goals, treatment plans, things have to be done, and we're moving towards something, and I bill insurance. So it might be free for you, depending on your insurance situation, but trust me, I'm getting paid for it. So what we've done historically is say, we're gonna try to fix it ourselves. We've tried to deal with it, come up with different remedies. The old saying, we're gonna put some tussin on it, right? We've been trying to do that psychologically, putting tussin on it, talking to some friends. And unfortunately, if you're talking to friends that are going through stuff and aren't trained, they just basically, you're just circling the problem, not moving towards a solution, right? So that's what we typically do. Um, when we don't have education, understand the importance of going to a licensed therapist, going to someone, if you don't have a clinical issue, maybe going to a life coach to kind of help you think through your problem. So, to answer the question, hope I didn't just go around it, is, you've got to get past how we're trained and how we've been culturally conditioned to go, hey, I need help sometimes. And it's okay to be not okay. I need to talk to, and I think COVID was pretty good at teaching us that. We
Yes.
all understood anxiety. We all understood relationship issues when you're around that loved one every day, all day. There were some stress fractures that were noted in a lot of the marriages. I think some people, their job has saved their marriage because they had to get out of the house and get away from each other for a little while. And now, think about it. Look at the divorce rates after COVID. A lot they shot up because they didn't have the coping skills, and it's a skill. Communication is a skill, and if you don't practice it, you don't become proficient at it. Well, the skill for a lot of guys is we just shut down. We just don't talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Until we blow up. And then when we blow up, they're like, where did all this come from? Well, we've been packing it in for 5, 6 years. But now, we get to that breaking point, and I'm not saying that that's the right thing. That's actually the wrong way to handle it. But you get to that breaking point, and then you want to try to get help. So a lot of times, counseling comes in after it's already been a blowout. Things have already gotten sick. So just like any other situation, if you see a therapist after you've gotten so far gone, the prognosis and the outcome is always going to be more challenging. Not saying that it can't work, but some people, when they come to counseling, I always say, you at this point you're talking to the wrong counselor. You need to talk to an attorney. 'Cause you're already you're already divorced. You just
Yeah.
I can't save people that are divorced trying to be married. We can help save people that are still are married that have to work on communication issues, maybe have to work on some trust issues. But a lot of times, one of the first things I assess in a couple session is how interested is the person even still interested in being in a relationship.
Yeah.
So we've got to understand the role of counseling is. We don't wave no magic wands in counseling. We use scientific methods and communication methods, things that are proven to get people on track. But it's just like going to any other medical professional. If you don't take your medication, are you going to get better? So that if you aren't willing to do the work, many of the things aren't going to change, right? If you're not aware of what we do, how we do things, and people don't know that psychology is about 80 to 90% effective if you got a licensed therapist and using proven models. But talking to your friend that you think just has some good advice, I don't know. People kill me too. They talk to people that aren't married about how they should fix their marriage.
Yeah.
Always blows my mind. Your girlfriend, your boy that's never had a wife, gonna tell you how to fix your marriage. It's just, where do you get I think people need to check where they get their advice from, first of all. The other thing is, you need to make sure you're not putting your business out there that somebody doesn't have a confidentiality agreement.
Right.
Because some people are talking to the enemy and don't even know it. You know, some people really don't want your marriage to work because they want their homeboy, their
Oh,
homegirl to
yeah,
go
that's
out to
true.
sleep with them. You
That's
know,
so
so
true.
that's why another reason why it's good to talk to people. And it kind of moves to my next point. Look how I did this. I'm gonna segue to my point right here. Rest in peace to one of my people I looked up to, and I had a short opportunity to be in his presence. Jesse Jackson came to the funeral of Marvin Sapp's wife, Melinda Sapp. Rest in peace, that angel. Um, and this is my little story about Jesse Jackson. I didn't know he was going to be at the service, and obviously I was supporting my fraternity brother, and the Grand Rapids Alumni chapter, was there to support. And I turned around and looked up and looked, and I was standing right next to Jesse Jackson at the church. You know, now all I can remember, and this is a funny moment. All I can say is keep hope alive. That's all I can say. I said, keep hope alive. And he looked. First, I didn't think he heard me. He kind of smiled. And the next thing I know, he gets up there and he preaches at the right before the benediction. And he actually said it. Keep hope alive. And then my fraternity brothers like elbowed me like, "Joe, you stupid. At the church, but I was kind of in shock. You turn around and see somebody you looked at your whole life. This huge figure in civil rights. All that. So one of his things that he always would say is keep hope alive. So in light of that, I looked at something in Psychology Today, right, which is the power of hope. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see if we pull this back. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah.
The power of hope, right? So it's very important right now to have hope, right? And with all the things that are going on the news, all the things that are going on financially, I think there's an effort to try to dash our hope, to make us feel powerless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that, number one, you don't have to fall for, okay? You don't have to be hopeless. You don't have to. That's a choice. Regardless of what you see on TV, regardless of who's in power right now, you can always have hope. Think about where we've come from in this country in terms of black folk. From the cotton fields to the White House, there had to be a whole lot of hope in there.
A whole
Right?
lot.
And that's
Yeah.
why I loved, and there had to be a whole lot of prayer in there, right? But the importance of how to cultivate hope, I want to give some people some guidance today on how to cultivate hope. Because hope has to be cultivated. It's not just something that you just naturally have all the time. You have to cultivate it. So one of the things you have to do is setting and achieving goals. All right? So when you're setting goals, you're setting realistic goals and things that you can achieve individually. One of the things that we decided to focus on this show was building the village. So you can focus on things within your village and try to make things better for the people around you. That's a goal, right? That's one example. You can add your own. The thing I like, and this goes on what we talked about last week, was about being around positive people.
Mm-hmm.
Those high in hope surround themselves with positive people. We can stop right there for a moment. We talk about our circle here in San Antonio all the time. We have a very close-knit circle. Some people have called us a clique or whatever you want to call it. Well, we're the clique of hope. We are positive because we're doing positive things. We want positive things for other people. And if you're not about that, you just don't kind of fit in. You work your way out. We're not exclusive. No, we're not. Well, we are. I guess we are exclusive in the fact that we're not inclusive to any negativity. So if drama, foolishness is going on, there's going to be some problems. Because
Yep.
positive people surround themselves, or people high in hope surround themselves with positive people. Stick with positive people, and also focusing on the present, what you can do right now. Not worried about everything down the line that you can't control, but the things that you can deal with and focus on right now, what's right in front of you, right? Being self-reflective and confident, right? So thinking about, okay, where can I strengthen myself? What can I work on? What can I do? How can I be organized? My grandfather used to tell me that all the time, be organized. And at first that seems simple, but how organized are you with your time? One thing I tell my clients, and this is a freebie, you have the power of the 3 8s. You have 8 hours a day to work, 8 hours a day for your personal time, and you should have 8 hours of sleep.
Right.
That's 24 hours. So if you're not feeling productive, if you're not spending time with your family, you're not doing what you need to do, then how are you managing your 8s? And if you're pulling from one of those areas, or one of those areas is spilling over into the other area, you got to ask, why are you not organized with your time? So
it's true.
Anybody can call in on that, right? So what else we got?
I'm gonna
Keep
go
a positive outlook.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep a positive outlook. You know, as bad as things are right now, it's not 1965. It's not
Yeah,
19. It ain't 1940. It ain't 1930. It's not. I guess I should say. Let me use proper English. It's not 1940. It's not 1960. We have more rights, but here's the thing about rights. If you don't use them, how good are they?
that point, yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't go out and vote, if you haven't done voting by now, you need to, get yourself together for the next time, because you missed this one, right? And there were consequences, right? Crockett didn't make it. She didn't make it, right? Now I know that redistricting happened and all that. Look, people have been playing tricks since we've gotten out of slavery. We've got to overcome and achieve, and it's in our DNA to do that. Not make excuses. If people were about making excuses in the 60s, we wouldn't be where we're at right now.
That's right.
We've got to be accountable, self-confident, work on what we can change, and stop whining about what we can't. Now, I said it. Stop whining. Stop complaining about what we can't change, because that's wasted energy. I know I might be stepping on some toes because there's a lot of whiners out there.
Step on them. Step on them.
One of the masculine traits that I've learned is, if you complain about something, bring the solution. Learn that in the military too. You better not go to a senior officer with an issue and don't have a solution in mind.
Yeah.
Because that's going to be the first thing they ask you. Well, what do you plan to do about it? Any good leader, well, what do you see the problem now? What do you see as a solution?
They always say there's a solution to every problem, but some people don't like the outcome of the solution.
Well, because let's be real, Ron. It usually implies work.
Yeah. Somebody asked me something about a solution. I'll give them a solution. Well, I don't think that's going to work. I said, well, have you tried anything? No. So how do you know this is not going to work? Well, were you afraid to hear my answer? So I got to the point now, certain people don't ask me anything because they know what I'm going to say. I'm going to be straight up.
Well, maybe that's why we don't have as many people call in. We had some people calling in for a while, but on certain topics, I put some pretty powerful topics. We put some powerful topics out there.
Yeah.
People don't want to call in and talk about it, and we've been, don't let us scare you. I know we got the bald heads, man, but that don't mean that we're gonna be mean. We're not mean out here. We are gonna call you on some mess if you call in with it. So
yeah, I've been called mean, obnoxious, annoying, And I said, well, good. I said, what you mean good? That means you listen to what I'm saying. You don't like what I'm saying. You think I'm mean and all that stuff. Good. Because I love when people say that about anybody. Because that means one thing. They're watching what you're doing. They may not agree of what you're doing. Like, for instance, this one lady told her boss, said, we are friends. And for you to come down on me like that, that's messing with our friendship. Hey, that lady turned around and said, honey, let me tell you something. You will always be my friend. I just don't like the business decision you're making for this company. It has nothing to do with friendship. I said, oh, she broke that down real quick. We're going to be friends. But your decision making about the job, she did not like. So sometimes you got to listen to when people tell you that. No, you're still my friend. But some decisions you make, I don't like. So it's almost like a double-edged sword when people look at it. On one hand, they like me. The other hand, they don't like the decision I made. So how do you talk to people like, they still like you, but your decision making it sucks. you know?
You gotta be. Well, I gotta be careful here because I don't want to step on anybody's toes necessarily. But people have to look at friendship differently. Do you want a friend that's going to tell you everything you want to hear, or do you want a friend that's going to tell you the truth? And to me, a true friend tells you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Not to hurt your feelings, but sometimes maybe your feelings are going to get hurt if you are messing up and you don't know it. But would so you see, I'm going to give you an example of this in women that I see. So some women will tell other women they look good in what they're wearing when they don't. Because they don't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
So they got their friend out there looking there kind of not right. I put it like that. When you can just say, hey, you know what? How you say it possibly is what you need to work on. I think there's something that will look better on you. And give some choices, right?
Yeah.
Instead of letting the person go out there and look in a way to the back of their mind and that they know is not right. I'd rather have a friend that tells me the truth than have me out here looking crazy, right? So believe it or not, we even ask for feedback. I ask for feedback on this show. I've been a facilitator. I'm a therapist. But, the radio is kind of new. It was kind of new to me. And it can't be new to me now. It's been a couple of years. But, so I ask, hey, Ron, there's something different we can do. Man, I like what you're doing. We ask for feedback. If you're not willing to evolve and change, and you can't really do that unless you know the truth. You got to know the truth. So, if you have a friend, that's an excellent opportunity for both of you to grow.
Yeah.
For them to be able to grow and telling you, hey, because people understand there's a reciprocal relationship in a healthy friendship when each one is doing better and their best, then they can help keep each other on point. But if you're lying to each other, you're just going to keep circling the problems. Why can't I find a good man? Well, because a good man don't want you advertising everything you have to every other man out there.
And you shouldn't be looking. He will find you.
That's right. And I'm going to say this, and it might hurt some feelings, if you're worth looking for. Right? Now, I'm not saying that you're not worth looking for. What I'm saying is if your decisions and the behaviors that you're doing are not what that person that's already established is looking for, even if they find you and even if you get into a relationship, you're going to lose them. Because your behaviors will not sustain someone who's got their stuff together. Call in.
You know,
if you want to talk about it.
so if you, I gotta say this now. So, a friend of mine, single young lady, she had a list. He must make six figure. He must make this. He must make that. He must make all of that. And so I'm sitting down listening to this young lady talk to this other young lady, and she said, "Well, what if he got a list? He's got a list saying you must make six figures. You must do this. You must do that. How you feel about that? Well, how dare he make a list? Because he's got me." She trying to look at her. Well, he better off staying single because he does not want somebody that's not going to help out in a relationship. If you go in a relationship, look for somebody to take care of you, financially and stuff, then girl, you better off playing the lottery. I looked and I said, no, she didn't say that. Because and then somebody broke something down one day that says, okay, you're looking for all these men out here, all right? Let's say you look for men with 100,000, want to make $100,000 a year. You're looking at your, all right, that breaks down, that's 50%. Now you want one that's 6 feet tall. Break that down. Now it's down to 20% of the men you're looking for. Now you want someone that wants to have kids and be married and all that. That drops down. So now, out of all these men you want, you got to pick in the 7% of the leftovers. And I look at that and say, well, that does make some sense. So my question is, why do people have to get a list together to find the right man that they want?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with setting goals, right? I don't think it's anything wrong with setting goals. So if that woman wants a man who's 6 foot, making six figures, wants kids, okay. I'm married, but if I'm single, I'm trying to put myself in a single mindset. I'm about 5'10", I'm about that. I make six figures. I wanted family, I wanted kids, I wanted to have, all those things. So I'm putting myself in this situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
What would I be looking for? Well, I'm gonna tell you how I did this with my wife. When we started dating, I told my wife, I said, hey, let's look at this relationship like a table. Here's what I bring to the table. Here's what I'm going to need you to bring to the table. And we talked about what we all brought to the table at that time. At that time, I was not making six figures. I was probably making close to half that. However, I was putting 6 figures worth of work into my lifestyle and into my plans, into what I was doing, so that one day I would make six figures. Now my wife and I both make six figures. But we had a plan.
Mm-hmm.
I saw what she brought to the table, what I brought to the table, and we were able to have a nice family setting because we brought what we needed to the table. Now, if you want somebody that already has six figures, understand they've already had to go through some things to get to six figures.
Right.
Nobody goes through life without you get to six figures without some planning, unless your family's got a trust fund or whatever the case may be, and there you have it. But most guys that have gotten to six figures on their own or maintaining that type of income, they have got some planning, they've got some things in place, and they have this key word, expectations. So what expectations are you willing to meet for a six-figure, 6-foot man that wants family and is God-fearing? So I would say, let's look at it from a basketball standpoint, or a professional sports standpoint. You want the top percentile of the pool of people. What percentile are you in?
Mm-hmm.
Your looks? Okay, well, if you make six figures, I can go overseas and get somebody that looks just like you for half the cost. or none of the costs. And less of a headache. And I'm gonna tell you something right now. Most of the single people, I know we got a war going on. There's places they know they go in the world, and they're knocking down the door to try to get with, and they willing to work, they willing to clean, they willing to stay home, they willing to do all that without any lip. So let's look at supply and demand. What you supplying that I can't get out there
Yeah.
somewhere else? Well, God's gonna bring you, God's gonna bring me my man or whatever the case may be. Maybe, but the God I know doesn't give anybody anything until they're ready. Now, sometimes you get something ahead of time, and you lose it. And maybe that's what God doesn't want to do. He doesn't give you what you're asking for because you're not ready for it.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? We can talk about it. Call in. I'm more than happy to tell you that. What does that mean? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And actually, you can start by reading Ephesians 5:22. Since you're planning on getting married, right? That's what the goal is for a lot of women, get married.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then, what does God say about marriage? Oh, what does that mean? No, I know you're planning on spending $10,000 for the wedding, and I know you want to, have all that. I want you to have a nice dress. But how much have you studied about marriage? The roles, what happens in marriage? People spend their whole life preparing for their career, but they don't even take a class half the time on marriage.
Mm-hmm. Why do they do that? They think it's what I'm trying to find a word for that. When they don't, they think it's just gonna come to them naturally.
No, they do. They think, I blame Disney for this.
Disney.
I blame Disney for this. They think the Prince Charming is coming in, and he could be a beast, but with one kiss, he's going to turn into a knight, or he's going to turn into a king, and you'll live happily ever after. Just because, I blame Disney for this. Disney sets up these fairy tales, and women think that's how it's going to go. They think that, hey, as long as I look cute enough and I'm willing to cook dinner sometimes, and I got it going on, and you may have, but
Poor Disney.
poor Disney. You know what I'm saying? Poor Disney, man. Poor fairy tale thinking is what it is. So if you've been married for over 10 years, you know what I'm talking about. It takes more than a fairy tale to make it.
Oh, who you telling? I got 15 coming up on May 1st.
Okay, I got 22 on you, so
Okay.
I can tell you but I can tell you've got the same, I'd say stripes of love I do, and it's real. It's a conscious choice, and there's times that the fairy tale ain't fairy telling.
No.
So, and you have to know how to come up with the tools to make it through those, through that time. COVID should have taught that, should have taught a lot about that.
Yeah.
You got to get creative, when somebody get on your nerves and they stand in the house and you can't go nowhere. So.
Yeah.
So that's what this thing is about, man. So, and really I say this candidly because people need to have this conversation before they walk down the aisle. I think it would save a lot of marriages if they knew what they were getting into and understood the principles that marriage is built on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But some people take it. I talked to somebody the other day. We were talking about marriage. Asked me how long has I been married, and I told them and all that stuff. And they were young, and they said, "Well, how can y'all stand to be with each other that long?" I said, "Y'all boyfriend and girlfriends, right?" Let me ask you the same question. How long y'all been boyfriend and girlfriends, and how can y'all stand each other? Oh, that's different. No, it's not. You asking that question, I'm asking you back. When you get mad at him, what do? I give him the silent treatment. When you get mad at her, what do? I just go ahead and do what I want to do, or she'll get over it. I said, right now, with y'all being boyfriend and girlfriends, you already have issues. You should not walk down the aisle until you get together and talk to somebody, like in counseling, a marriage counselor, to get all these issues resolved before you even say, "Will you marry me?"
100%. I approve that message. I approve that message, and I mean, shout out to the churches that have at least premarital classes or something. It just makes no sense to me that you would try to make a lifelong commitment without any education.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's my baby, or that's he's cute or she's cute or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, it's gonna be. I guarantee you, there's gonna be a time when you wake up and that cute ain't gonna matter.
Yep.
I guarantee you, it's coming. Now, what are you gonna do when that happens? When everything's good, see, the fairy tales don't tell you when the challenges come. See,
Yep.
that's the part that I say is I blame Disney. Disney doesn't tell you that that's the beginning of the story. That ain't the end.
Yep.
when you walk down the aisle, that's the beginning of the story. Why do people? I know people that have spent $10,000 on a wedding and have gotten divorced before it's been paid off.
Oh, yes. That's a good point right there, Joseph.
I'm speaking on what I know about, not what I'm thinking about. Or more, 10,000 or more.
See, I knew when I married my wife, we sat down and talked about money. We talked about everything, and we talked about, that's what we talked about. She said, okay, we got to split this up. I said, what do you mean? Either one pay for the marriage and one pay for the honeymoon. And that was a loaded question, because she haven't told me she's going to take care of the marriage. I take care of the honeymoon. I wish we would have flipped it, because the honeymoon costs more than the marriage. But that's something we agreed upon by doing it, because we had no kids. Our kids are all grown and everything, so it was nothing like that. It was no big deal. But that's what we came up with. And the other thing people got to realize, when you get into a relationship and you get married, only one person can handle the money, the bills and all that stuff. When you get too many people with hands in a cookie jar, it goes, we both got our own account and all that, but we got one main account that take care of everything. So I don't have no problem with all that stuff. I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for her doing all that, my truck would have been paid off 3 years earlier than what it was. I don't know how she did it. I don't know to this day. Each time I got paid, this is all I need to live on. I don't need nothing else. And that's how I did, and looked up, and she said, babe, how would you feel we pay off the truck tomorrow? Huh? How? What you mean? How? Then I asked her, how? Just say yes or no. Yes, but how? And, so I back away. I'm in with the finance, but I back away from it because she handles everything. But we do make a decision when it's a big ticket item. It isn't, I'm going to do this, like the foundation for the house. We talked about it. And see, I'm getting to that point again. You have to talk about things and agree on things. And if you disagree, give the reason why you disagree and give your solution to that. Just don't disagree and just sit back. I disagree and just walk away. No, you got to talk. Now, I'm probably in trouble now, 'cause I know she's listening.
No, I think you did good, man. I think Karen would have approved that message. She probably would have a few other things to say, for sure. But the thing is, you talked. You talked about those things. You talked about how you would handle this or that. A lot of times that doesn't happen. So when the situations come about, you don't know how a person is going to deal with it, or more importantly, how they're going to react.
Yeah.
Right. So finances is one of those things. Finances, infidelity, or trust are two of the major cornerstones why marriages don't make it. And
Yeah.
then, we got to get into this thing of things in common. Do you even really enjoy doing things that the other person, your significant other, your partner enjoys? You got to have a lot of things in common,
Yeah.
because life is going to take you some places and take you on some journeys. And if you don't have a lot of things in common, if you can't just really enjoy each other's company and enjoy some of the same things, it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. Those looks will only get you so far.
You
Telling
know,
you right now, if the reason you're with somebody is because of the way they look or other superficial things, that's the extent and the depth of your marriage.
and also there are sacrifices that each person have to make. And sometimes there's things that go on in a marriage that you really don't want to go to, but you're there to support your spouse.
Yeah.
Regardless if you don't like it or not. If your spouse asks you, can you please come with me to this event or something like that? And they say, nah, I ain't got time for that. Oh, so you're not supporting me. So, and then it works the opposite. When that time comes up for that spouse having something, they ask you, can you come with me? Nah, I'm not into that. Then they look at you side-eyed. Now, wait a minute. I said, oh. But that's when a good discussion, I didn't say argument, I said discussion starts, because you're discussing why you won't come to my event, but you want me to go to yours.
Right.
And sometimes that's a hard pill to swallow.
Well, you just speak again to communication in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
If you want somebody that's supportive, you need to ask those questions. One of the, I'm gonna put this out. I think there was a book. I think it was either 800 or 1,000 questions to ask before you get married.
Mm.
And me and my wife bought that ahead of time, and we went through pretty much all those questions. And at the end of it, we got married. We still was like, man, there's still stuff I didn't know about you. And we talk all the time, right? There's still things I didn't understand or know, or whatever the case may be. So, it's so important to communicate in the beginning and all throughout the relationship. And when I mean communicate, not talking at each other, truly listening.
Mm-hmm.
Visualizing not just what they're saying, but what's behind what they're saying.
Yeah.
So you can understand who you truly are going to be with. And then the other thing is, we got to get back to this period of time where you can date or court each other for a while, because then you can really truly see what a person is about. Because you can only act for about 90 days,
Mm-hmm.
less than 90. Anything over that, a person will show you who they really are. And here's the catch: when a person shows you, you have to believe them.
Yeah.
A lot of people are dating who they hope a person would be, instead of who the person is.
Mm-hmm.
And then they wonder why the relationship never worked out, because you were dating a ghost.
Ooh. Yeah.
You were married to your hopes and dreams. And this joker was never, that was a game he was playing. Because he knew that you saw him a certain way, even though he showed you who he was. And that means, unfortunately, you're delusional. Sometimes in therapy, it's just showing you a mirror so you can see what's really going on. And I don't have to tell ladies that too often, because they already know. They knew when they met you that they thought you were a fixer-upper, and you thought you were already at the top of your game. So that's just how, that works.
Mm.
Um, so somebody's trying to invite me to a meeting, and I don't even want to be bothered. Is this new now? That they can send you messages
Yeah.
and invite you to a meeting, and you don't even want to be at. I should send you a message. Who are you, and why are you talking to me, lady? I don't even know. People, they getting creative with this stuff. I'm in a
Oh,
meeting. I
oh,
wish I could show you my screen. Well, you wait till I find out who this. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Personal moment. Let me keep moving on. They getting kind of. I'm gonna have to screen my stuff a little better. that's
Yeah,
that's
they are getting there on doing things. Hey, one thing. How much time we got? 9 minutes. Okay.
9 minutes.
Okay. So there's a cycle problem out there. The reason why I was saying it for men and women, they tend to pick from the same group of men or women that drive. They find the beginning, but they don't do what they're not there for them. And
Hmm.
then when that good person is there, that's been with them. I heard this one time that oh, they just too nice. So isn't that what you're looking for? Or why is they keep on picking the bad person and want to know what's wrong with them? Yeah, it is something wrong with you because your psyche is not telling you don't go with that one again. You had that one like a year ago, something just like that. But yet they always repeat. I'm going to call them repeat offenders. They always repeat to the same type of person. How can that person get out of that rut and out of that cycle?
Therapy. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Uh, there's a lot going on, and I'll just give you some little hints. So on what it is. It has a lot to do with self-esteem. It has a lot to do with expectations. Has a lot to do with situational. This is just things I've seen in 50 years as a therapist. People get locked into those cycles is for a combination of reasons. Has a lot to do sometimes with, and not all the time, but sometimes with what they saw coming up, growing up. Their understanding of what a healthy relationship is, what they expect or as an ideal person may be different from in reality who the ideal person is. For example, my wife used to talk about one of her girlfriends, and I gotta be careful because I don't know. She might listen. Uh, so a girl, well, just gotta call her because I'm sure she's not the same person, the only person like that. Um, Somebody that just wanted a 6 foot guy. She couldn't date him unless he was 6 feet. That's it. He had to be 6 feet.
Mm.
Didn't say anything about the personality. Didn't say anything about the goals. Didn't have to say anything about. Of course, if you ask him, say, "Yeah, I want him to be this. I want him to be that," but the criteria was being 6 feet. So look at all the other things that could go on with a person if the only criteria is being 6 feet.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other ladies out there that the criteria is just 6 feet. So that guy knows that I'm being sought after by all these ladies that like me because I'm tall. So if that's the only benchmark you have, he can easily move on as well, right?
That's
So
true.
you gotta look at it. You gotta really think about what you want and then who you are and then what percentile are you in. And that's a hard thing for a lot of people to realize because a lot of players can appear to be what you want them to be for a short period of time, right? So that's the other part of the game. 6 feet, you don't have to do much. I'm 6 feet, so you're gonna holler at me just because of that. I'll go out, and then things move fast because maybe there's not a lot of guys that are 6 feet. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm in close enough to 6 feet, but you know, but if I sense that's all you're interested in because I'm tall, I'll be like, are you crazy? is that the only thing that, what happens if I get in a car accident, I'm in a wheelchair, then what? Is that, superficial things create superficial relationships. And that's really not what marriage is. It's a lifelong commitment built on some values, and more importantly, it's a covenant with God. People don't understand that. And then you understand what a covenant with God is. So now, if you're not going to get married, you just doing whatever you're doing. That's a different conversation.
Okay.
But we can talk about that too.
That's a lot.
Well, everybody, hey, listen, people, we live in America, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, right? That's what's on the sign anyway.
Yeah.
So that looks different for everybody. I mean, I heard Neo's got 4 wives or something like that, 3 or 4 wives, living in the same place or whatever.
Oh.
Hey, that's how he chooses to live.
Yeah.
And that's how those ladies choose to live, because he's Neo, right?
Yeah.
So all I can tell you is, if you were to come to me and ask, they probably wouldn't come to me and ask. I don't know.
Yeah.
But what I would say is, really, anyway, if everybody's happy, they're happy.
Yeah.
That would work for me. It would work for most people I know. But then again, I'm not like a superstar or whatever. But I really believe in the people that live the longest. I just lived there, Okinawa, Japan. And they didn't have all the material things. They didn't have, actually they did, but that focus wasn't on the material things. It was on family values. It was on simplistic things, being grounded, nature, culture, tradition, character. It meant something. It wasn't just a conversation. If you ever go, you'll know what I'm talking about. And I look forward to going back over there so I can exemplify some of these future podcasts, And I think that's part of why we don't have the happiness that we do now, because we've lost a lot of those cornerstones of morality that we used to have.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So true.
So that's what I got. And we got about 2 minutes left. Do you have any other questions?
No.
No? Okay.
Let
Well,
me see here.
you know my saying, your actions speak so loudly, can't hear a word you're saying. So let's make sure our actions are matching our words. And thank everybody for listening. Call in, write in, and we can address some questions, on relationships, on hope, on anything that we talked about. We did have a guest that was scheduled for the day that had a technical issue, but we will get him back on from San Antonio African American and Archive Museum. So he called me. He's like, "Oh man, my computer just crashed," and he's got to get get that squared away.
Yeah.
Computer has some serious computer issues. I don't know if it crashed, but something went on. But he was sad he couldn't make it, and we didn't want to have him on here just by the phone. So we said we'll push him on back and get him, because Black History is more than just in February. So we will definitely keep that going and talk about the importance of knowing your history psychologically.
Right.
And the effect of that. So, but anyway, hey.
All right, my brother.
Always a blast, man. Always a good time. God bless.
Okay, and we'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you soon. Yeah.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. That was Joseph Lee right there with Impact Counseling and Consulting Services.
Tune in every Thursday at 11 a.m. on WSAN Radio for the Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, where real conversations lead to real change. Joseph Lee is a licensed therapist with over 15 years of experience, and each week he brings practical guidance, clear insight, and solutions you can use to navigate stress, anxiety, relationships, family pressures, and the challenges we're facing in today's world. Today's discussion pulls from Psychology Today magazine and other trusted resources because your mental health matters and your community matters. Have a topic you want us to cover? Reach out to WSAN Radio and let's talk. Let's break the silence, strengthen our families, and make a positive impact together. The Impact Hour with Joseph Lee, Thursdays at 11 a.m., only on WSAN Radio, the soul of America and beyond.